Hi, I'm Chris Beaven of the Repository.
I'm Chris Easterling of the Independent.
Welcome to the first installment of Friday Night Ohio's Stark County edition from inside the Pressbox. We're going to be here every week from the Repository's high-tech conference room talking about high school football in Stark County, the players, the coaches, the issues. We're going to do it every Tuesday around noon on FridayNightOhio.com, so come here every week. Also starting next week on Wednesday around noon, the Tuscarawas County edition from the Football Pressbox will be on. FN Ohio as well, and the staff of the Times Reporter will be doing that for you each week, so look forward to that and ours every week through the rest of the football season. You also can email the show with questions or comments about what we've talked about, what we haven't talked about. Keep it nice, keep it clean, and we might use it on air, and we'll see what you guys are thinking and try to hit the topics that interest you. We're going to start off with a mid-season recap of some of the stuff that have struck us this year so far. And right now, let's talk about some of the MVP candidates. I know Tuslaw's got a guy that's putting together some big numbers.
Shelby Combs, their quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Think he even might drive the team bus. Has really done it all for them. Big reason why they're 5-0, almost 700 yards rushing, almost 370 yards passing, and he's even catching the ball out as a wide receiver. So. He's a guy that really, obviously, he's at a smaller school, not playing the competitions that an Eric Howard or a JT Turner's playing, but definitely a kid to be considered.
And you mentioned Eric Howard, and he's probably the guy that's grabbing the most attention, especially what he's done the last 2 weeks where he's rushed for, almost 600 yards against two traditionally good defensive teams. He's got 921 yards this season. He's only a junior. And you've seen him the last couple of years as well as I have. He's the real deal, and that's why Big Ten schools are looking at him.
That, and he's not a bad linebacker either, if you ask Coach Hertler as well. And that's what makes a good player of the year candidate, is that not just that one-dimensional player.
No, and he's putting up, like I said, the big numbers. And the thing that makes him so good is his ability to break tackles, run away from people, put moves on people, and he's behind an offensive line that's starting to come together, and they're really putting up some numbers. Some other guys that to touch on that you don't want to miss, Neil Seaman of Louisville. Obviously a lot of good players there, Swigerts, the Matthews that they have, but he's been putting up some big numbers. You got to talk about him. Glen Oak, Drew Ayers as part of a talented backfield. Aaron Williams, a two-way lineman that's doing a good job. McKinley's Monterey Williams is starting to put up numbers, and I know Massillon has JT Turner.
JT Turner has really gotten his first chance to shine running the ball, and obviously he's a Michigan-bound cornerback as well.
Take a look at some of the top teams as we reach the midway point of the season, and I think you got to look at the unbeatens right now, and that's Glen Oak, Louisville, Tuslaw, and Alliance. Talking about Tuslaw first, you touched on Combs, but obviously it's more than the Combs show for the Mustangs.
No, Dan Marthy's done a terrific job both ways as a running back and a defensive player for them. They've got a good defender in Jacob Alarsik, and really their entire front seven on defense is something that's been a big reason why they are where they are, which is 5-0 and challenging for another PAC championship. Alliance
has quietly gone 5-0. I think they're under the radar because they're in the NBC where all the talk is Louisville Northwest. But the Aviators have put on some really good defensive performances this season. They've overcome some injury to skill guys. They've got speed, talent, a good veteran coach, and the Aviators are doing some things.
Absolutely, but they're a team that I think the last 3 weeks of the season are going to really tell the tale for them. At Louisville, home to South, at Northwest. That's really going to decide what type of year it really is for Alliance.
I think another team that's not too surprising to be 5-0 is Glen Oak. Despite losing a lot of skill guys, they've got a great defense almost back intact. Their offensive line has come together, led by Williams. They're real deep at tailback, and Coach Garcia has done a nice job putting that program together.
We'll find out a lot about them, though, the next few weeks, especially starting Friday night against McKinley. That's always a big game, and that's going to be something that really determines, is this a schedule for them, or are they legitimate, team that really can go far in the playoffs?
Legitimate go far in the playoffs team would definitely be Louisville. They're 5-0. They've rolled over people, and I think nobody's surprised. They were in the Division II state championship game last year. A lot of people back. Coach Farah has that team playing great football.
They're playing great football, and I really think has to be odds-on favorite to get back to Massillon in the Division II title game. I think it would be a disappointment.
Other teams that aren't undefeated but bear watching, I think McKinley and Massillon have both shown that they're going to be a factor. Obviously Hoover and some of the other teams in the NBC, such as Northwest.
And Canton South as well.
Looking at some of the top games this week, there's some really big matchups that really tell you that fall is now begun when you look at some of the games. We'll start over in Plain Township. McKinley and Glen Oak are getting together. That's going to be for a share of first place in the Federal League. Both teams know each other well, neighborhood rivals. First time McKinley's ever played in Plain Township. That place is going to be electric.
Oh, it's absolutely. That's always been a big game, but I think it's really, again, it's going to determine, where these two teams are. I think McKinley obviously got off to a slow start playing Solon and Indianapolis Cathedral. They've gotten on a roll, but I don't think they played the caliber of team since those first two games that they will this Friday against Glen Oaks.
There's going to be a lot of talent in the backfield in that game. Both teams will go and use 2, 3, 4 tailbacks in the case of Glen Oak. Obviously, Drew Ayers, we talked about. Monterey Williams and Bryce Wilder from McKinley are a great 1-2 punch. And you've got some young quarterbacks who are playing mistake-free football for each team. So that's going to be a good game. A couple miles away from that game, not too far. Boardman and Hoover are going at it. Boardman undefeated, Hoover undefeated in the league. And that's going to be a great game.
Both teams have really opened up the Federal League play with a couple of resounding blowouts over some traditionally good teams. Both of them have beaten Lake. Boardman's coming off a rout of Perry, and Hoover is coming also has beaten Perry. So it really, I think this is going to see, the winner of this game is really going to be in the driver's seat to kind of take control of that league.
You move over to the western part of Stark County, the game you're going to be at, Ignatius against Massillon. It's a huge game for the Tigers.
Absolutely. This is going to kind of set the tone for their season. It really is, because they still got some big ones up ahead, Warren, Menard, McKinley, but I think they need a good showing against Ignatius, really, because they haven't done that in past meetings, truth be told, except for the one they won in 05, and we saw how that season went when they made it to the state title game.
This game could really jumpstart them to something big. Tuslaw and CVCA, the other big game, Tuslaw hosting that one.
Absolutely. CVCA, I think we all knew was going to be in this position. They were one of the preseason favorites. Tuslaw, though, 2 years ago they won the PAX championship, and to do it again, they're going to have to win this game.
Well, those are some of the games we're talking about, and you'll be reading about in our papers and also on FN Ohio come Friday night, Saturday morning. We appreciate you stopping by the internet to find us. Like I said, we'll be here every Tuesday around noon. Future weeks, starting next Wednesday at noon, will be the Tuscarawas County edition, brought to you by the Times Reporter. So please check in for that on FridayNightOhio.com. I'm Chris Beaven.
I'm Chris Easterling.
Thanks.